Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news tonight on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are the headlines. Rajya Sabha Chairman Venkaiah Naidu refers privilege notice against Congress President Rahul Gandhi to Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan. Naidu takes view that there is prima facie a question of privilege. BJP member Bhupinder Yadav raised the issue of privilege and contempt of Rajya Sabha against Rahul Gandhi. Ranchi court sentences former Bihar Chief Minister Lalu Prasad Yadav and others to 3.5 years in jail in the second fodder scam case. Also imposes fine of 10 lakh rupees on the RJD president. Powerful IED blast claims the lives of 4 policemen in Sopore town of Baramulla district. Explosive allegedly planted by JEM terrorists during separatist-sponsored Bandh. Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti expresses anguish over the incident. And Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu addresses NCC cadets after inaugurating the NCC Republic Day Camp 2018, calls the National Cadet Corps the need of the hour to inculcate sense of commitment, discipline and responsibility among the younger generation. Well, the Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu on Saturday referred the issue of privilege raised by BJP MP Bhupinder Yadav against Congress President Rahul Gandhi to the Lok Sabha Speaker for further consideration. On examining the privilege notice submitted by Yadav, the Rajya Sabha Chairman concluded that there is a prima facie a question of privilege. Yadav, who had moved the notice on the 28th of last month, raised the matter again in the Rajya Sabha on Friday.
Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu on Saturday referred the notice on the breach of privilege motion against Congress President Rahul Gandhi to Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan. After moving the notice on the 28th of December, Bhupinder Yadav raised the privilege issue under Rule 187 in Rajya Sabha on Friday. According to sources, Chairman Naidu found prima facie a question of privilege against the Congress President, concurring with the contention of Bhupinder Yadav that Rahul Gandhi had imputed motives to the intent, character and conduct of the leader of the House, Arun Jaitley, by the way the spelling of Jaitley was twisted. Made comment which was very derogatory and highly unbecoming on the part of the Congress President, deliberately misinterpreted the proceedings of the Rajya Sabha in order to malign the government and affronted the dignity of the House, besides attempting at obstructing the House in performing its functions by vitiating the political atmosphere.
नोटिस दिया था प्रिविलेज का 187 में सर, और मैं यहाँ ये कहना भी चाहता हूँ कि जो विषय सदन में रखा गया था, हमारे बहुत संजीदा नेता प्रतिपक्ष और हमारे सदन के नेता दोनों के माध्यम से सहमति के आधार पर इस सदन में बयान दिए गए थे। ये बयान सदन के आपस की सहमति के आधार पर और पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री जी और सदन के पूर्व चेयरमैन की जो गरिमा है उसके आधार पर दिए गए थे। इस प्रकार के दिए गए बयान को सदन के बाहर झूठा कहना और इस प्रकार के बयान पे सदन के ऊपर प्रश्न उठाना, आपको क्या कहना? ये नेता मेरा पॉइंट ऑफ ऑर्डर ये है कि पूर्व में सर पूर्व में सदन के इस प्रकार के 3 इंसिडेंट रहे हैं। 1954 में श्री NC चटर्जी का, श्री प्रणब मुखर्जी जी का और श्री रामेश्वर ठाकुर का, जब दूसरे सदन के सदस्य थे तो वो रेफर किया गया था। मेरा प्रिविलेज का सर आज सदन का ये समाप्त होने वाला है। मेरा जो प्रिविलेज है सर उसके बारे में आप
बैठ जाइए ना,
10 दिन से चल रहा है सर। मेरे प्रिविलेज का आप निर्णय करिए सर।
प्लीज बैठ जाइए।
मैं राइट, ये मेरा राइट है। उठाया है।
Rahul's tweet purportedly referred to the statement of leader of Rajya Sabha and Finance Minister Arun Jaitley made in the House to resolve the stalemate on the issue of alleged comments of Prime Minister Narendra Modi against former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. After prolonged discussions at the behest of the Rajya Sabha chairman, Jaitley and leader of opposition Ghulam Nabi Azad made statements in the House reiterating their commitment to respect and uphold the dignity of the office of Prime Minister and the former Prime Minister. Jaitley stated that Prime Minister Narendra Modi did not mean to question the commitment of Dr. Manmohan Singh and former Vice President Hamid Ansari. Reciprocating the gesture, Leader of Opposition in Rajya Sabha and Senior Congress Leader Ghulam Nabi Azad underscored the need to respect the Prime Minister, while stating that his party did not approve of any derogatory remarks about the Prime Minister.
We do not want this stalemate as a result of this to continue. Let me categorically state that the Honorable Prime Minister, in his statements or speeches, did not question, nor did he mean to question, the commitment to this nation of either Dr. Manmohan Singh, the former Prime Minister, or Shri Hamid Ansari, the former Vice President. Any such perception is completely erroneous. We hold these leaders in high esteem, as also their commitment to this nation.
हम भी नहीं चाहते हैं कि किसी भी नेता का और विपक्ष की तरफ से माननीय प्रधानमंत्री के व्यक्तित्व के खिलाफ कोई ऐसी बात कही जाए, और अगर इलेक्शन के दौरान हमारी पार्टी के किसी सदस्य ने कोई ऐसा बयान दिया जो प्रधानमंत्री की गरिमा के खिलाफ हो, तो हमारी पार्टी अपने आप को उस बयान के साथ डिसएसोसिएट करती है, उससे संबंध नहीं करती है और नहीं करने की आगे कोई गुंजाइश है, और नहीं हम चाहेंगे कि प्रधानमंत्री की गरिमा के खिलाफ कोई शब्द कहा जाए.
If an issue of privilege is made against a member of the House, such notice is required to be referred to the House in which he is a member. Accordingly, since Rahul Gandhi is a member of the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha chairman referred the privilege notice against Rahul Gandhi to the Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, on to some other big news now. Our Chief Lalu Prasad Yadav was sentenced to 3.5 years in jail by a CBI special court on Saturday. The sentencing has come in a fodder scam case relating to fraudulent withdrawal of nearly 90 lakh rupees from the Deoghar treasury 21 years ago. The CBI had also imposed a fine of 10 lakh rupees on him for 2 cases in the scam. He was fined 5 lakh rupees for each case, failing which he would serve another 6 months in jail.
CBI court on Saturday sentenced RJD chief Lalu Prasad Yadav in a fodder scam case along with 10 others, sending him to jail for 3.5 years and imposing a penalty of 10 lakh rupees. Earlier, the court convicted him for criminal conspiracy under the Indian Penal Code and the Prevention of Corruption Act. Other convicts including Phulchand, Mahesh Prasad, Julius Baig, Sunil Kumar, Sushil Kumar, Sudhir Kumar and Raja Ram were also sentenced to 3.5 years in jail and imposed a fine of 5 lakh rupees each. The RJD chief was convicted on December 23, 2017 and has been lodged in the Birsa Munda prison since then. Lalu heard his sentence through a video conference. The case pertains to the fraudulent withdrawal of 89.27 lakh rupees from the Deoghar treasury during Lalu's chief ministerial tenure between 1991 and 1994. In the wake of the court's ruling, Lalu's son Tejasvi Yadav along with senior members held an emergency meeting to discuss the development. He also held a press conference and said the party will try and approach the High Court.
क्या सुशील मोदी जी मानते हैं 2G कोई घोटाला नहीं था? तो अभी देखिए अंतिम फैसला है ही नहीं ना, विकल्प है हमारे पास कानूनी, हम हाई कोर्ट जाएंगे, हमें न्याय मिलेगा. यही सुशील मोदी जी जितना बोलते थे आय से अधिक संपत्ति को लेकर के, क्या हुआ उसका डीए केस का? आखिर जीत लालू जी की हुई कि नहीं हुई?
कोर्ट का सम्मान कर रहे हैं हम, जो फैसला है वो भगवान जो होता है, जो भगवान है, सत्य का जीत होता है और सत्य का जीत होगा. 3.5 साल मिला है, लेकिन हम लोग हाई कोर्ट जाने का काम करेंगे. बिहार की जनता में रोस्ट है, एक एक आदमी पूरा रोस्ट है, लेकिन पूरा मजबूती के साथ, और न्यायाधीश जो फैसला दिए हैं मैं उनका सम्मान करता हूं और हमको बेल मिलेगा, हम बेल लेंगे.
The BJP and other political parties welcomed the verdict.
निश्चित रूप से जो भी न्यायालय ने निर्णय लिया है वो एक सही कदम है और इसलिए न्यायालय के निर्णय का पूरी दुनिया स्वागत कर रही है. भ्रष्टाचार में लिप्त लोगों के लिए सबक सिखाने की आवश्यकता है और मुझे लगता है कि जो सज़ा जो उन्होंने किया है अपने करनी का, उनको भरनी करना पड़ रहा है.
बस अब इनसे अपेक्षा हम लोग ये रखते हैं कि बहुत ही ईमानदारी से और अटमोस्ट ह्यूमिलिटी के साथ ये न्यायालय के इस वर्डिक्ट को ये अपनाएं, अपनी पूरी सज़ा काटें, जो इन्होंने पाप किया उसका प्रायश्चित करें, बार बार उससे भागने की जो इनकी परंपरा रही है, किसी ना किसी तरीके से एक ऐसा कि किस तरीके से इनको बेल हो जाए, इतने लंबे समय से भी ये बेल में ही रहे हैं सजा याफ्ता होने के बावजूद, तो बस इनको, मुझे लगता है कि इनको उस पाप का प्रायश्चित करना चाहिए। और बिहार की जनता की ये सबसे बड़ी जीत है, जो पैसा इन्होंने बिहार की जनता का लूटा है। तो आज कहीं ना कहीं एक बिहारी होने के नाते मुझे भी इस बात की संतुष्टि है कि जिन्होंने हमारे साथ अपराध किया उनको कम से कम सजा तो हुई।
अदालत के फैसले का स्वागत करते हैं। ये बिहार की राजनीति में एक दूरगामी फैसला होगा। राष्ट्रीय जनता दल को इकट्ठा रखना अब मुश्किल होगा और राजनीति में लगे लोगों पर भय का अंकुश भी लगेगा इस फैसले के बाद।
Lalu Prasad was sentenced to a 5-year jail term in the first fodder scam case. Due to his conviction, he was debarred from contesting elections for 11 years. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, on to news from Kashmir now, where an IED blast killed at least 4 policemen in Sopore town of Baramulla district on Saturday. The police say that the explosive was planted by suspected militants and was aimed at a patrol unit of the police. Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti expressed anguish over the incident while expressing condolences to members of the martyred police personnel.
A powerful IED explosion on Saturday killed 4 police personnel in Baramulla's Sopore town. Jaish-e-Mohammed militants are suspected to have planted the device that blew up in a lane between the Chota Bazaar and the Bada Bazaar in Sopore. The blast took place when the policemen were patrolling the area during a separatist-sponsored strike.
इनिशियली देखा गया है जो आईडी थी वो प्लेस की गई थी बिल्कुल एक दुकान है उसके बिल्कुल बाहर, जिसको आप कहते हैं वो दुकान का जो थड़ा सा होता है उसके बिल्कुल नीचे प्लेस की गई थी। ये काफी बड़ी आईडी थी, आपने देखा होगा क्रेटर भी काफी बड़ा बना हुआ वहाँ पे, 6-7 दुकानों को भी नुकसान काफी हुआ वहाँ पे इसकी वजह से, और हमारे 4 लड़के शहीद हुए हैं।
The blast site was immediately cordoned off and a search was launched to nab the terrorists involved in the attack. The police said the attack was intended to avenge the death of Noor Muhammad Tantre or Chota Noora, a top terrorist of the Jaish-e-Mohammed terror group who was killed in December.
2015 के बाद ये सिलसिला बंद हुआ था, लेकिन आज उसके बाद आज ये हुआ है। So we'll have to think about it, how to deal with such a situation. तो उसमें we'll put our heads together. We'll have to chalk out some new strategies to tackle this thing now.
Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti took to Twitter to condemn the incident. She urged the people of Jammu and Kashmir to help in breaking the vortex of violence in the state. Former Chief Minister Omar Abdullah also expressed grief. The wreath-laying ceremony of the martyred policemen was held at the district police lines, where all senior police officials of the state were present. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news now, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu on Saturday inaugurated the NCC Republic Day Camp 2018 in New Delhi. On the occasion, he praised the role of NCC cadets in social awareness campaigns, especially the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu on Saturday appreciated the work of the NCC, describing it as a strong pillar of national unity. While speaking to the cadets, he also highlighted the major achievements of the NCC in youth and nation building. Naidu was addressing NCC cadets after inaugurating the NCC Republic Day Camp 2018 in New Delhi. On the occasion, he was presented a guard of honor and he also inspected the parade.
NCC is the need of the hour for younger generations, which will bring discipline, commitment, dedication, and also give them overall idea of the nation's interest, safety and security, and also social consciousness.
The Vice President also praised the NCC for its support to social awareness campaigns, community development, environment protection, sports and adventure.
This organization fosters the spirit of brotherhood, builds character, inculcates the value of selfless service, concern for fellow citizens, community service and the spirit of adventure. That is also equally important. The very ambience of this camp fosters the feeling of camaraderie and patriotism.
Along with the Vice President Naidu, NCC Director General Lieutenant General B.S. Sehrawat was also present in the program. 2,070 cadets, including 695 girl cadets drawn from all 29 states and 7 union territories of the country, are participating in this one-month-long camp. The National Cadet Corps is the largest uniformed youth organization in the world. Ravindra Sharon's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Reacting to the Central Statistics Office report estimating slower GDP growth this fiscal, the opposition Congress has hit out at the government. While party president Rahul Gandhi took to Twitter to seek answers from the government, in particular the Prime Minister, former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram said the government's stall claims about rapid growth have fallen flat. Here's more.
The prediction of a slower economic growth in the current financial year has provided Congress with ammunition against the government. Party President Rahul Gandhi in a tweet blamed Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Finance Minister Arun Jaitley for the economic slowdown. Rahul dubbed GDP as gross divisive politics and claimed that every aspect of the economy was on a downward slide. He said while new investments have been on a 13-year low and bank credit growth on a 63-year low, fiscal deficit is the highest in 8 years. The party also blamed demonetization and the implementation of GST for the economy's downturn.
भारत की आर्थिक स्थिति चिंताजनक है। ये सरकार पूरी तरह से विफल रही है अर्थव्यवस्था को मजबूत करने में, सही दिशा देने में। इस सरकार के और प्रधानमंत्री के निजी गलत फैसलों से भारत की इकोनॉमी को बड़ी चोट पहुंची है।
In a statement, Congress leader and former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram said the fears of an imminent economic slowdown have come true. He said the government's claims of India growing at a robust growth rate have evaporated in thin air. The government, however, outrightly rejected the opposition charges. Economic Affairs Secretary Subhash Chandra Garg said GDP growth forecast of 6.5% for 2017-18 implies growth of 7% for the second half of the fiscal. This confirms a strong turnaround of the economy. The Niti Aayog also believes that India's growth story will be an example in times to come.
जब 1991-92 में मनमोहन सिंह की सरकार ने अपने जो सुधार किए थे तो उसके जो बाद जो साल था उसमें हमारी अर्थव्यवस्था की गति 1.8 हो गई थी। इतने बड़े सुधार के बाद भी हमारी हालत वो नहीं हुई कि हमारी बिल्कुल अर्थव्यवस्था जैसे जकड़ जाए, ऐसा नहीं है। और अब क्योंकि ये तेजी से बढ़ रही है तो मुझे लगता है कि आने वाले दिनों में ये 7.5 और 8% की तरफ बढ़ जाएगी।
On Friday, the Central Statistics Office released a report in which it estimated that the GDP is expected to grow at 6.5% in 2017-18, a dip in comparison with the 7.1% growth rate in 2016-17. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the 26th edition of the World Book Fair began in New Delhi on Saturday. More than 800 publishers from across the country and abroad are participating this year. This year, the fair is themed around environment-related issues such as climate change, global warming and water pollution. The Department of Publication is playing an important role in this year's book fair and has put up a stall too. The stall has books on various subjects from national importance to social significance. Literature and CDs of National Film Archives of India and the Indira Gandhi National Centre for Art and Culture are also available at the Publications Department stall. Apart from this, children's books are a highlight at this edition of the fair.
पिछले वर्षों में स्पेशली जो राष्ट्रीय विभूति भवन के सहयोग से माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट के उनके गाइडेंस में जो किताबें बनी हैं और अन्य भी नई किताबें बनाई हैं विशेष रूप से ज्ञानवर्धक है। मुझे लगता है कि पब्लिकेशन डिवीजन का कंट्रीब्यूशन तो और बढ़ना ही चाहिए।
इस समय में हम कैसे हमारी भूमिका कि हम इस देश की सारी सांस्कृतिक धरोहर और उन सभी विषयों पर जो लोगों को भारत के बारे में जानना है, भारत के अंदर और भारत के बाहर हम किताबों, हमारी पत्रिकाओं, प्रिंट फॉर्म और इलेक्ट्रॉनिक फॉर्म के जरिए हम कैसे आगे बढ़ सकते हैं, तो आपका भी।
Well, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj arrived in Singapore on Saturday to attend the ASEAN-India Pravasi Bharatiya Divas on the third and final leg of her Southeast Asia tour. She will have bilateral meetings with the leadership in Singapore and will also interact with PIO delegations from ASEAN countries who are participating in the event. Before reaching Singapore, Swaraj was in Jakarta where she held talks with her counterpart to discuss ways to strengthen the strategic partnership between the two nations. She also held a meeting with the ASEAN Secretary General. In the run-up to the ASEAN-India Commemorative Summit, Swaraj also inaugurated the 5th roundtable of ASEAN-India Network of Think Tank. Later, addressing the Indian community at a reception, Swaraj said India is shaping the global agenda.
We agreed to develop synergic relationship to harness the potential of the Indo-Pacific region and to meet the challenges that the region faces. We unequivocally condemned terrorism in all its forms, manifestations, irrespective of its motivation and origin. We expressed our strong opposition to any selective approaches to deal with this global menace.
On the bilateral cooperation in the area of political, defense and security cooperation, we discussed ways to broaden our cooperation, including through expediting the finalization of Defense Cooperation Agreement, DCA, implementation of joint development and production in the defense industry, strengthening maritime security cooperation, including cooperation against piracy and illegal fishing.
And in some more international news now, even as the US defended its support to the ongoing protests in Iran, the international fraternity, including Tehran, strongly condemned the United States for convening a UNSC meeting on the protests. Meanwhile, the anti-government demonstrations are continuing unabated in Iran.
Supporting the ongoing demonstrations in Tehran, the US convened a UN Security Council meeting, saying these protests don't threaten international peace and security. US envoy to UN Nikki Haley told the Council that Washington stood unapologetically with those in Iran who seek freedom for themselves, prosperity for their families, and dignity for their nation.
The United States stands unapologetically with those in Iran who seek freedom for themselves, prosperity for their families, and dignity for their nation. We will not be quiet. No dishonest attempt to call the protesters puppets of foreign powers will change that. The Iranian people know the truth, and we know the truth. They are acting of their own will, on their own behalf, for their own future. Nothing will stop Americans from standing in solidarity with them.
US President Donald Trump's support to the people protesting in Iran has drawn widespread condemnation from the international arena. They say the US is abusing its power as a permanent member of the Council.
Aussi préoccupantes qu'elles soient, les évolutions de ces derniers jours ne constituent pas, en tant que telles, une menace à la paix et à la sécurité internationale. Nous devons y réagir de manière appropriée, c'est-à-dire avec toute la vigilance requise par les risques de violence contre les manifestants pacifiques.
The Iranian people represent an ancient and important civilization that has a rightful place in the modern world with a modern economy. But too often, Iran's security interests are pursued in a way that destabilizes and at times directly threatens others, supports terrorism, and distorts the Iranian economy. These regional activities risk increasing international conflict and threaten international peace and security.
Как Соединенные Штаты злоупотребляют площадкой Совета Безопасности? Зачем США, постоянный член Совета и один из авторов Устава ООН, подрывают авторитет СБ как главного органа, ответственного за поддержание международного мира и безопасности?
For an issue to be added to the Council's agenda for discussion, it must be supported by at least 9 of its 15 members. Meanwhile, Iran also took a dig at the US, saying it has lost every shred of moral, political and legal authority and credibility in the eyes of the whole world.
The move by the United States to bring to this council protests in Iran by some of our citizens for legitimate grievances, some exacerbated by none other than US itself in its dereliction of its obligation under the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, is an abuse of its power as a permanent member and an abuse of the Council itself.
Protests broke out in Iranian city of Mashhad in late December against the state of the economy, which spread to dozens of cities with slogan chanting against the government and ruling clerics. At least 21 people have been killed in the protest. On Friday, tens of thousands of government supporters again took to streets across Iran. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, that's it on this newscast. Good night.